Hello and welcome back to our channel where we delve into some of the world's most intriguing topics. Today in this video, we're going to explore one of the most notorious crime cases, the Jane Doe death case. You might be curious about what this case is about, who this individual was, why this murder case was solved after 45 years, and how it was solved. So let's get into the video without wasting any further time. Actually, in the past, identifying Jane John Doe was one of the police department's most arduous tasks, but with the advent of DNA technology, this work became much easier. But before we dive into this mysterious journey, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, then please consider doing so now by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. One day, a floating body was discovered in the city of St. Paul, one of Minnesota's twin cities, situated on the banks of the Mississippi River, and like any other major city, it has its fair share of homicides, robberies, and other violent crimes. Every major city has a high crime rate, but St. Paul in particular has a lot of mysteries that has never been explained. Our mystery today is one of the most surprising ones. So, ladies and gentlemen, on July 20th, 1977, locals in St. Paul discovered a decomposed body floating in the Mississippi River between Childs and Warner Roads. They were shocked by the body, in part because they couldn't tell if it belonged to a man or a woman, so they called the Ramsey County Police Department. When officers arrived and began their investigation, they found that the fully clothed body was that of a young woman. In an assertive manner, the next step was the identification of that woman, which proved to be the most difficult step. Since the woman's body was too decomposed for most identification methods and she wasn't carrying any identification, a thorough examination was required to determine the victim's identity. In the meantime, police began speaking with the people who discovered the body in the hopes that they might have seen or heard something that could help solve the case. When the body was delivered to the medical examiner, they learned that it belonged to a white female between the ages of 16 and 30, but this piece of information was unfortunately useless. This is where the detectives were called. The detectives were taken aback by the medical examiner's thoroughness, and according to preliminary estimates, the deceased would have died anywhere from 6 months to a year before their body was located. Isn't it shocking how the body was preserved? Anyways, upon further examination, the medical examiner found even more shocking details, including that the woman had brown or green eyes, and some brown hair remained on the body, which was unusual for a body that had been decomposing for such a long time. But the medical board and detectives confirmed that the water was extremely cold and that it preserved the body for months. Along with that, stretch marks were found on her body, which suggests that she may have given birth at some point in her life or had been raped, but stretch marks can also be caused by normal growth. However, as it was a decomposed body, nobody had a final statement. An important trace was the woman's teeth, which were the most distinguishing characteristic, with several silver and gold dental fillings on her molars and substantial chipping on her front teeth. The dental records were made available for comparison since they were so unique, but the search had turned up nothing. Now you might be wondering, why didn't they go for fingerprints? Well, it's because fingerprints couldn't be collected, and DNA testing was out of the question at that point in the investigation due to the decomposition. So it was unclear what led to Jane Doe's death. Further on, the Ramsey County Police Department denied all allegations that they were hiding her cause of death from the public, saying that there could be many ways for someone's body to end up in the Mississippi River since there was no informant to rule out any of the possibilities. However, some sources claimed that her cause of death was discovered early on, but that the findings were kept secret from the public. Without fingerprints or a suitable mortuary photo or composite, police in Ramsey County could only make comparisons to missing person reports, so their initial inquiry into Jane Doe was not very thorough. Although the police in Ramsey County worked diligently to find a match between Doe and other missing persons, they eventually ran out of leads and the investigation went cold. This case received widespread media attention but has remained unsolved over the years. The case was kind of closed without even being resolved. But surprisingly, in March of 2021, Bush Hudson of the Ramsey County ME's office contacted the DNA Doe Project and submitted Jane Doe's DNA extract to a series of laboratory processes to develop a DNA profile. In May of 2021, it was announced that the DNA Doe Project would accept both the 1976 sample and the new sample. The 1976 sample was taken from Ramsey Jane Doe, who was reported missing in the 1970s. The Ramsey Jane Doe was rapidly matched to some of the Ramsey family's long-lost relatives, and the DDP immediately began exploring those links. A fund was formed on the DDP website to help support the investigation to identify who Ramsey Jane Doe is. Now, as most of you know, how closely connected two people are can be estimated by measuring the length of DNA they share, which is measured and centimorgans. There was no better match for Jane Doe than 286 centimorgans until November of 2021. Further on, the Ramsey Police Department knew that they were on the cusp of a breakthrough. The police department assumed that with sufficient evidence, the DDP would soon reveal Ramsey Joe's real identity. There was a slow but steady influx of monetary aid. California DNA testing revealed that Jane Doe was primarily of European and Mediterranean descent with some West Asian ancestry. Many of the missing women who had been considered candidates for Ramsey Jane Doe would be eliminated with the use of this new ethnic information. Together with the DDP's innovative methods, forensic sketch artist Carl Koppelman reconstructed Jane Doe of 2021 for official purposes. In an unstructured online conversation about the case, Carl admitted that the reconstruction of the skull wasn't the most accurate he had ever produced because he hadn't been provided with high-quality images. However, he noted that the reconstruction's teeth were accurate enough to positively identify the woman who had previously eluded him. Among the Slack threads of the web, Carl claimed that the chips in her teeth would have been able to distinguish her. With the necessary funds, the DNA Doe Project's dedicated and competent volunteer investigative genetic genealogists combed through the GetMatch.com and FTDNA.com databases daily in a zealous manner. In 2022, the case was solved when a team of talented DDP genealogists used their knowledge of various languages and document investigations to track down the culprit. After 850 hours of investigation, the team of experts succeeded in sketching her face, and through the database search, a woman named Mary Jensen was finally identified. This is a huge accomplishment, but aside from her name, authorities have released no other information about Mary Jensen, as their investigation is ongoing and they continue to contact the family and acquaintances of Mary Jensen. In conclusion, this is how Mary Jensen's DNA was identified after years of struggle. However, up until now, nobody knows exactly how she died. Whether she committed suicide, was murdered, or whether the stretch marks were due to giving birth or being raped, the mystery remains unsolved. Feel free to share your thoughts on whether or not we'll ever learn the cause of Mary Jensen's death in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to enjoy more stories like this delivered directly to your screen.